Why more students should consider living off campus. I think one of the biggest assumptions students make when they first come to college is that living on campus is automatically the better choice, especially in your first year. And honestly, I understand why people think like that. A lot of students who support living on campus argue that it gives you more structure, more convenience, and a stronger sense of community, especially when you're first adjusting to college life. That's actually the exact perspective I'm responding to in this project. For example, in Bethany Cawthorn's article, The Pros and Cons of Living on Campus, she admits that living on campus can come with frustration like parking issues, food shortage, accessibility concerns, and physical inconveniences. But she ultimately argues that the benefits outweigh those drawbacks. And honestly, I think that's a really common student perspective. I also looked at the same kind of argument in Donna Shalala's opinion piece, where she presents on campus housing as important and a part of student growth, leadership, and emotional development. While I understand both of these perspectives, this is where I disagree. I do not think living on campus is automatically the smartest, most convenient, or most beneficial option for every student, especially not in a city like Lubbock. Because I think off campus housing gets dismissed way too quickly, even though it can offer students more affordability, more freedom, more flexibility, and a much more realistic kind of independence. So, I'm not arguing that dorm life is bad, but I'm arguing that off campus housing deserves to be taken much more seriously than it actually is. The first reason I disagree with the idea that living on campus is automatically the better option is because off campus housing in Lubbock can be way more financially realistic than people assume. And I think this matters a lot because when students ask about housing, they usually focus on the convenience first, but affordability affects your actual quality of life. If your housing situation is stressing you out financially, that's going to affect everything else also. In a city like Lubbock, I really don't think it makes sense to act like off campus housing is out of reach for students because it's not. For example, the rental data showed that the median rent in Lubbock is about $1,295 as of March 2026, which is about 32% lower than the national average. That matters because it shows that Lubbock is not the same kind of college town as places where rent is extremely out of control or out of reach. And when students split rent with roommates, which a lot of college students do, off campus housing can be even more manageable. So when students actually defend on campus housing as safer, smarter, I think they're often ignoring the fact that Lubbock's lower cost of living changes the conversation a lot. Texas Tech even has a full off campus housing office, which shows that living off campus is already a real and recognized part of student life, not just some unusual backup plan. Another reason I disagree with my stakeholder is because people often argue that living on campus is better for student growth and maturity. And honestly, I do understand that point, but a lot of students believe living on campus helps people transition into adulthood because it gives them more structured support and built an environment where they can adjust more easily. But I think that argument leaves something very important out. Because, in my opinion, living off campus can prepare students for adulthood and in a much more direct and realistic way. When you live off campus, you're not just participating in college life, you're learning how to actually manage your own life. You have to think about groceries, cooking, cleaning, budgeting, responsibilities, transportation, and how to organize your own routine. And yes, that can be more work, but I don't think it makes it worse. I think that it makes it part of what's valuable. Because growth doesn't only happen in structured environments. Sometimes growth happens when you're actually given the space and responsibility to become your own person. And I think that is one of the biggest things students overlook when they automatically defend living on campus. It can help students off campus can help students build independence in a more real life way. And finally, one of the biggest reasons I disagree with the idea that on campus housing is a better choice is because I think people define convenience way too narrowly. Because usually, when students say living on campus is more convenient, what they really mean is you're closer to class. And yes, that is convenient, but I really don't think that's the whole story. Because a lot of students, college life is not just class and homework. A lot of students also balance internships, jobs, commuting, errands, appointments, responsibilities outside of school. So, if that's your real reality, then convenience starts to mean something very, very different. Convenience might also mean living closer to work, closer to get groceries, closer to your actual routine, or practice your day-to-day life easier overall. Because your life is more than just walking to class and back, then your housing should also reflect that too. And this is another reason why I disagree with students who automatically support living on campus, because being close to class is only one kind of convenience. And for a lot of students, off campus housing may fit their real life better. So, overall, I'm not arguing that living on campus is a bad choice. For some students, it's probably the right choice. But I am arguing that students who automatically treat on campus housing as better, smarter, or this more successful option are overlooking a lot. Because a city like Lubbock, off campus housing can offer affordability, flexibility, independence, and a lifestyle that may fit students' real needs better. And I think that matters. Because if we're going to have honest conversation about what helps students succeed, then we need to stop acting like support, growth, and convenience only exist on campus. Sometimes the better option is the one that gives students more room to actually build a life of their own.